Welcome to the webinar of Drone Harmony on the topic of what's new in the Drone Harmony platform and what to expect in 2022. As we're approaching the end of the year, we want to give you a little bit of also an outlook of what to expect from the Drone Harmony platform in 2022 and also a little bit in the years even afterwards. My name is David. I'm responsible for the product of Drone Harmony, and I'll be presenting the webinar today. I'm assisted by Janine Stoll, who will be helping me with some of the Q&A questions, and let's get started. So to those of you who are completely new to Drone Harmony, I'll just give a very quick recap. The Drone Harmony is a platform for data acquisition with off-the-shelf drones. So the product is composed of three main parts: the Drone Harmony web application, the Drone Harmony mobile application that is currently running on Android, although as we will see today, that will soon be expanded also to iOS, and the cloud that connects the two platforms. By data acquisition, we mean flight planning and flight execution, and the automation of the process of acquiring good data with drones. So for today, our learning goals is to see some of the newer features of the Drone Harmony platform, the ones that we've added in the last couple of months and the kind of key changes, as well as discussing some of the bigger changes and bigger additions to the platform that we will see in the upcoming months. Many of the things I will speak about today will already appear in the product in the next couple of months, but I will also talk about things that are a bit further down the road. So the things that are already in there that we will see today are things related to terrains and how they are now become a data layer in Drone Harmony, and what kind of workflow, what it means in terms of the workflow for our customers. We will see how Panorama missions now work in Drone Harmony, and how we can visualize flown flights, so flights that we've executed within Drone Harmony, and we can now review them and see them in the Drone Harmony web application, and some other new tools that we've added to the platform. And then we will talk about the outlook for 2022, and there we will touch upon some quite exciting topics, including a brand new Drone Harmony mobile application for Android. That's a completely redone and refactored application with a brand new workflow and many exciting new features that we'll also see parts of today. And a brand new iOS application, which is something that I know many of our customers, partners, and users around the world have been waiting for. So we'll see a kind of sneak peek into that today as well and talk about it, as well as a few other exciting things related to how we intend to work with our partners in the future, and other future platform features that are to be expected. Okay, so let's start with the first part, and that's related to the new features in the Drone Harmony application, primarily in the Drone Harmony web application. And the first topic is how terrains are now a data layer within the Drone Harmony application. So those of you who are used to working with Drone Harmony for a while now will know that we have included terrain-aware flight planning features since quite a while. One change that has happened in the recent months is that now terrains are treated as a layer, the same way like maps are a layer within the application. They're kind of always there for us. So I want to kind of present this to you and show you kind of the power of this workflow in case you have not seen this before. So I will now switch to my browser, where I have Drone Harmony mobile running. And let's zoom in here on the area of the map where I have some sites open. And if you remember in the past, when we wanted to work with terrain files, we had to load them into the state and we had to work them one by one. Now, since a few months, what has happened is that we've changed that into making the terrain data a layer in the Drone Harmony application. So to access all of the terrains that either we ourselves as users loaded into the Drone Harmony interface or that Drone Harmony provided to the user base, we go to the tab here on the right. This is our layers tab. There are different layers. We'll see the flights layer in a bit as well. And in the terrains layer, what we can do is by clicking on it, we start seeing overlays on the map representing different terrain data files that we have in droneharmony. There are some that are the blue ones that you see here. They are sometimes as large as full countries, like here Italy, Switzerland, Austria, parts of France, and so on. And some of them are listed down here below. And those are the ones that I, as the user, imported into the droneharmony application. Now, having those terrain as layers allows me to have an overview of what terrain datasets I have. It also allows me to easily navigate to them without needing to load them or anything like that. So in particular, if I want to use this terrain data file to do some mission planning, I'm just clicking on it and I immediately navigate to this area. Now, if I would like to enter the terrain view, this works exactly as before. I would click here on the top right on the terrain icon. And in this case, you can see that as we now can have more than one terrain data file available at the same time, I can choose between the two terrain files that are available at this location. So I can choose, for example, this one and the app will, of course, show me this specific terrain data file. So let's go back to map view. Another important feature of the layers of terrain is that we are now able to deal with very large terrain files because we don't need to deal with them kind of in a local way. They're all available in the cloud and streamed to us for working with them in flight planning. So in particular, whenever we have a bigger data set, like for example, the Italian data set, what we can do is we can just immediately start planning in the area that we need. We don't need to worry about bringing the right tile of this data set into our system. For example, I'm just zooming in on a random area here in Italy, and if I switch here to terrain view, you will see that I will start seeing the relevant part of the terrain here. And on the right, you will always have information about the source of the terrain file, terrain data rather. And this is another thing that's kind of enabled by treating terrain as a layer rather than an import of sorts. Okay, that we need for a particular inspection or for a particular site. Other than that, our website contains a lot of resources on how to work with terrain files, and those of you who are interested, I encourage to have a look at our resource page when it comes to planning missions with terrains, how this workflow looks like, and so on and so forth. So that's on the topic of terrain as a layer. It will always be here on the right. You will always have the overview of all of the terrains that you've ever loaded and not deleted, as well as some terrain data files that have been provided by droneharmony. And this list here is always growing. And if you have requests or ideas of what other data sets we could incorporate, you're more than welcome to send us an email. We'll be very interested to hear your opinion on that. Okay, so let's go quickly back to our presentation and let's move on to the next topic. So the next topic is Panorama missions. So we've recently added the option to plan Panorama missions, and Panorama missions can now be just as simple as elements in the waypoint mission. So we can have waypoint missions that have normal waypoints, Panorama missions, or any combinations thereof. And let's quickly see how this workflow looks like within droneharmony web. So for this, I will zoom into any site here. So let's zoom into this site. So let's say I would like to plan here a Panorama mission. So one thing that I can always do is I can start with any simple waypoint mission, something like a manual waypoint mission. So let's go here to the plan catalog, manual, and pick manual waypoints. Pick an initial altitude, let's say this is K. And here's our initial waypoint mission that we can start planning out now. Now let's say that I want to position two panoramas, one in this area and another one in this area. And let's say that the altitudes of 55 are the right altitudes for me. Now, whenever I have a waypoint mission, I can pick any number of waypoints now within this mission, for example, this one, and I can right click on it, and I can click on this new option here, convert to panorama. By doing so, the interface offers me the option to convert this waypoint into a panorama shot that will capture, in this case, 32 images. I can use this default setting, or if I want to, I can customize it and choose my own setting for the panorama. How many layers it will have, at what gimbal angles, how many shots per gimbal angle, and so on and so forth. But if I don't want to, I can just use my defaults. I can set the defaults one, and then they will be recorded for the next time I'll convert into panoramas as well. So now I clicked on convert, and I converted this waypoint, and you see that now we have a waypoint mission where one waypoint is an ordinary waypoint, other one is a panorama waypoint. So let's switch over to 3D view and see how this looks like. So we see that in 3D, panorama missions look like this. They contain those rays that point to the directions in which pictures will be taken at this waypoint for capturing panorama. As I said, we can capture more than one panorama in a single flight mission, and we can combine panoramas and single waypoints. The mobile app also includes the panorama mission as an option. We can convert waypoints into panoramas there too. If you want to customize the panorama, you should do it in the web app, and then those settings will be remembered for the mobile app. So that's just a small comment on how to plan panorama missions directly in the mobile app. Okay, so I think that's good for now for panorama missions, and we can go on to the next topic, which is visualizing of flown missions. So those of you who are familiar with Drone Harmony will know that whenever you fly a mission in Drone Harmony Mobile, there is a so-called flight appearing in the interface of Drone Harmony Mobile. Now, what we've done is we've used the data that's kind of captured within this flight, which is the flight trajectory and the actual actions that were taken along the flight trajectory, and we've synchronized it back to the web interface to overlay it and to show it on top of the web interface to see better how the how the flight was executed with respect to our inspection site within the Drone Harmony web application. So let's switch over again and see how flights are visualized and where are they to be found in the Drone Harmony web application. So I switch back over to here, and I switch to this account that I have here for this site. So you see that we have some inspection site here in Drone Harmony web. And in this inspection site, we actually executed some flights. So on the right here, in the area of the layer tabs, we have a new layer tab called flights. So if I click on this layer tab, the system will search for all the flights that were synchronized in the geographic area that we're currently looking at on the map. So it shows me that on the 4th of November, we executed a number of flights at different time points. And it also tells me some information about what flights those were. And what I can do is I can now visualize them and zoom in on them and have a closer look with respect to the actual inspection site. So in particular, let's look at, for example, this mission. So I click on this specific flight that I executed on November 4th at 3 o'clock and 36 minutes. And we start seeing this object that appears here, which is the actual flight trajectory that was recorded. Now, what else can we do with this? Of course, we can compare it to the mission that was flown to see if there were any deviations, but we can also look at this in 3D and see how flight execution actually happened. Now, beyond that, we also have the ability to load the images that were captured here and review the images. So in particular, you see that when I pick a flight, I have a media, I have a window that opens here on the left with an overview of the flight. So how much time it took, what total distance traveled, and so on and so forth, how many images were captured. And I also have a media tab here, and I can drag my images into this drag and drop box, and then have them overlaid in the right positions in the interface. So in particular, I have already done that. You see that there is already some data provided here from this DJI image to this DJI image, which are exactly the ones that are required for this mission, according to the metadata that was stored on the flight. And now I can actually browse the images and see thumbnails of the images. So in particular, I can click on one and I can see it in a bit larger and so on and so forth. And I can browse through this way. So this gives me a way to browse some of the data that we actually captured within the droneharmony platform. Now, this is not the data itself, the images are not uploaded automatically, but one of the features that we're working on in 2022 are simplified ways of actually uploading the data into the droneharmony cloud. The way that the data currently arrived to the droneharmony interface that you're seeing is by me offloading the data and putting it on my computer and then dragging them into this drag and drop box. But still, it already has quite some value if you want to review the data that you captured and to see it over the interface and understand at what position you captured what data and maybe replan part of the mission or redo part of the image capture and compare it to the mission flow. So this type of features this is just the beginning for us for features related to working with actual data, of overlaying it and presenting it on top of the interface. This is kind of the first step that we've taken, and you can expect in the 2022 to have many more features related to actually overlaying and working with the data captured within the droneharmony interface. Okay, so let's switch back and move on to the next topic. So the next topic is already the Outlook, but before we go to the Outlook, I wanted to show you a couple more small features within droneharmony interface that I think can be of interest to many of the customers and users. So let's get out of this view and switch back to here, and maybe let's go into this site again. So two very simple tools that I think can be useful for many users. One is the tool of geofences. Now, geofences in droneharmony, you have the ability to define obstacles, of course. Obstacles, once we define an obstacle, for example, this object here, I intended to be an obstacle, I define it to be an obstacle. It prevents missions from being planned within. Planned missions will not be intersecting. Automatically planned missions will not be intersecting this area. So you will see, you can see it in 3D. If I now plan missions here, in automated missions, things like facade verticals, top down, or anything like that, they will respect this area. But sometimes what we want is we want to understand if a certain geo zone is being violated, but still to allow the mission to intersect that geo zone. So for this, we introduced two new tools, and they are the geofence tool and the no-fly zone tool. So the geofence tool allows us to define areas where we want our missions to be contained in, whereas the no-fly zone tool is a way to define areas which we don't want to intersect with. So let's just look at one of them just for the interest. So if I define a geofence here that spans all the way around the site, you will see that all of our missions that we've planned before, now let's say finish. So you see that we have this dotted green line that appears here. This is a new object in droneharmony web. So this object defines now the geo zone. Now, if I create a mission that's completely contained inside, the mission will not be marked as violating the geo zone. But as soon as I, for example, place a waypoint outside of it, you see that this mission is marked red. And the red just means that it violates some of the geo zone criteria that we define. You've seen that this is now a red mission. And the same in this other one is yellow because it doesn't violate the geo zone identified. So by means of defining those geo zones, we have a visual interpretation of whether or not we're violating certain georeferenced areas, but without preventing the algorithms from planning in there. It's more a warning type system. So those are geo zones. and geofences. Now, we also added a handy measure tool. We have many customers asking about how can we measure distances on the map. Sometimes it's not so easy, so we added a simple measure tool that allows us to measure distances. It's just a click and drag kind of tool that allows us to measure various distances here. And when we're done, we just click finish and this tool disappears. It's just another useful tool to know about. Okay, so now we can go back to here and talk a little bit about what's coming in 2022. So the first, one of the most exciting things that is coming in 2022, and we will soon start, we're already in internal testing, we'll soon start some beta testing for this product, is a brand new Android mobile application that's completely done from scratch. So essentially the DroneHarmony mobile app is an app that's been out there for quite a few years now. We've acquired a lot of experience thanks to our customer base on how people are interacting with it and using it. And from those learnings, we decided to rebuild the app from scratch and for 2022 to have a brand new version of DroneHarmony to bring to the market. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you kind of the current version of this app that is essentially still in alpha testing, internal development, but for you to have a sneak peek into how it will look like once it's released. So I will now switch on to sharing from my mobile device instead of from my web client. So I'm switching here. Nice. Okay, so I think we all see now DroneHarmony mobile app. So we have added many improvements to the DroneHarmony mobile application, but the main change is really related to the UI UX of the application. So from tens and hundreds of thousands of interactions of our customers with DroneHarmony mobile, we've essentially accumulated all of that feedback and tried to build an app that's going to be just more comfortable, more safer, and more comfortable to use for everybody out there. So apart from a lot of kind of changes in the back end, it will allow us to do much more with the DroneHarmony mobile app in the future. The main difference is really how we restructure the interface. So there are several significant differences. And many of them are related to how the tools are outlined and how the visuals look like. So you might see that the tool sets, those of you who are familiar with DroneHarmony mobile will see that the tool sets are organized in a different way. Those are kind of more of the minor differences, but some of the more major differences are related to how the different views interact with one another. So first, we now simultaneously can see all the relevant views within DroneHarmony mobile app. So we see the 3D and the 2D view, and we can switch between them by just tapping on the window. So here's me switching to the 3D view, here's me switching to the 2D view. And if we connect the drone and we also have an FPV view, then the FPV view joins as another view next to this window on the bottom left, and we can seamlessly switch between the views, both during flight planning, like now, and during flight execution when the drone is actually connected. Now, another thing that we've worked a lot on is how to organize all of the kind of complex data that we need to deal with when we're planning missions on a tablet or on a phone. One thing we wanted to do is to declutter essentially the main screen and to have things like flight missions and flights that we talked about just a few minutes ago be organized in a better way. So one thing that we've done is we've created a menu that will kind of contain all of the flight missions and flight plans. So here on the bottom right, you see that we have access to 3 different things. We have access to the plan catalog, which you're probably familiar with, the missions, and the flights. Now, if I click on missions, for example, we see that we have now much more information on than we used to have before on flight missions. We see their type, for example, and so on and so forth, and we can select them and make them visible on the map. You can think about it as the same as filters in the web app. I can turn the visibility on and off for a mission. And as soon as I turn the visibility on for a mission, I can start also interacting with it on the map. So we also improved the speed of interaction. So missions with many waypoints will now work much smoother than they used to work before. And the types of interactions that we were able to do before will still be possible in more. So this is, of course, I can select waypoints, I can choose to rotate them, I can choose to move them around. There's all of these tools are of course still available, but this is something that I don't want to go into too much detail right now, but that's just to give you kind of an idea on the hierarchy kind of the things that are presented here. So we have the ability to turn the visibility on and off for objects, and that allows us to work with more complex scenes in a much simpler way. If I don't need to see all the missions at once, I can just decide which ones I want to see. The same holds, of course, for flights, which I currently don't have here, but if I had flights executed, they would be listed here as well, ordered in some meaningful way, for example, date and time and so on. Now, another important difference is the plan catalog that you see here is actually exactly the same, or almost exactly the same as the plan catalog that you know from DroneHarmony Web. And one of the big efforts that we've went through this year and will continue going through next year is kind of consolidating the feature sets between web and mobile to make it easier for everybody that works interchangeably between mobile and web to be able to do kind of the same things in both apps. Of course, there will be some limits because in the mobile app, we're working on a mobile device, sometimes without any internet connection, but to the extent possible, we want to make it as seamless and as easy transition between one app to the other as possible in terms of the interface, how it feels like, what missions are available, and so on. So both from the visual perspective as well as from the actual functionality, the plan catalog in the mobile app and in the web app will be much more similar than they are now. And in particular, one very big difference is that you will also have access to the terrain missions in DroneHarmony Mobile 2.0. This is a very critical and important difference, of course, because the current mobile app does not allow access to the terrain features that are available in DroneHarmony Web. So maybe let's have a look at this. So I might have here actually a site that I prepared for that. So this is me going into the load menu. I go to load. So let's pick this site. So here right away we see another important difference between the previous mobile app and the new one is that we will always have a visual preview of the mission. So if we want to load missions, we have a visual preview here. This site is not yet loaded. It's just a preview. You see I have the load site option on the bottom. And I can look at it in 2D, I can look at it in 3D. And when I decide that this is indeed the mission that I'm planning to load, I can actually load the site and it appears here. So what I wanted to show you is kind of how we're incorporating the terrain view into the DroneHarmony mobile app. So this is a mission that was planned for terrain. Actually, this is somewhere in the mountains. And what we can do is we can go here to 3D, and you see that on the top right we have the infamous icon for switching to terrain view now. And of course, the data from the terrain will come from the cloud. So we will need to have internet connection, but here, of course, I do have internet connection. And when I switch over to terrain view, it will start loading the relevant terrain data for this specific site. So here we see the terrain data that was actually used here, and we can visualize it. And in fact, we can also plan. It's the planning features are all here, so we can plan hill scan missions, we can plan anything we want within the mobile app. We no longer need to only use the web app when we want to use terrain. And that's true not only for smaller terrain files like this one, but it's also true for the large terrain data files like full countryside terrain models that we've just seen in the web app. They're all available here, of course, assuming that we have internet connection on our mobile device. Okay, so that's one very, very important difference between the new mobile app versus the old mobile app. The new mobile app will have the terrain features in there as well, and that, of course, too goes in the same direction of trying to, let's say, put all of the droneharmony products kind of on the same level of their ability to plan missions and in terms of interface, to reach a certain level of uniformity. So, of course, there's much more I would like to show you, but for the interest of time, and also to leave some space for curiosity on your end, we will probably leave the droneharmony Mobile 2.0 app for now. And just, I want to tell you that it's not long before we'll actually release it to the public. Initially, we will do some local internal, of course, testing and beta testing, but the release of this app is planned actually for towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. Okay, so I think I can stop my share from here. Great. Okay. So the next topic, which is part of the outlook for 2021, is a brand new mobile app that will be running on the iOS mobile devices. So the iOS, so the Apple mobile devices, iPhones, tablets, and so on, at the moment are not supported by droneharmony Mobile, but we are close to finishing the development of the first version of the iOS mobile application. And for this, since a lot of the features are very similar to how they look like in the droneharmony Mobile 2.0, I'm not planning to show you any interactive version of this app right now, but just note that the droneharmony for iOS is planned to be released also towards the end of the year, in the beginning of next year. Initially, the droneharmony Mobile for iOS will be designed primarily for flight execution of all droneharmony missions. And within 2022, we plan to fill in the gap between what currently droneharmony Mobile on Android is and what currently droneharmony Mobile for iOS is. And I think that this is something that's that many people have been waiting for, and we too are excited that we've reached a stage where we can soon say that we can release this product. Some other interesting news for next year. So as far as markets, we're planning to release a new product to the market. It's related specifically to the electric utilities market, in particular for the inspection of power poles and power lines within the droneharmony interface and with a dedicated tool set within droneharmony interface. So if anyone here has an interest in this market and would like to be contacted once this product is out there, but maybe already has some interest now, they are more than willing to reach out to us, and we will inform them about when this product is going to be available. So the product will be designed for essentially large-scale electric grid data acquisition, power poles, power lines, and various other assets of that type, with a workflow that's really dedicated for that, including layers in the spirit of terrains and so on, layers dedicated for the electric utilities market. Other interesting things that are coming up are the following. So we are adding the notion of planning profiles. This is This is an important feature for larger organizations that want to make sure that their pilots and engineers use the same parameter sets within droneharmony every time they plan a mission, and also for individuals that are working with droneharmony and have several parameter settings for a given mission, and they want to be able to kind of easily select between the parameter sets. So profiles will enable you to select for a given mission, let's say for a terrain map mission, a concrete set of parameters that's designed for a particular type of mapping that you're doing. So in particular, if you have something called, let's say, detailed mapping, that might be a low altitude of flight with very high overlap, you can set those parameters, save them as a profile. And from next time you're using this mission, you can just load the correct profile and all the parameters are populated for you. And of course, you can have several profiles for the same mission, and that's just something that's making working with a complex missions much more intuitive and easy. Another important thing that we're adding early 2022 is the ability to work with custom camera profiles. So one thing that you will be able to do is you'll be able to see information about the camera profiles that you're using, but you'll also be able to define your camera profiles, and they will then be used in mission planning. So once you define a profile, let's say you have a big platform like M600, and you can mount a camera on it that is not kind of already available within the droneharmony interface as a preset camera profile, you can define your own profile, enter the corresponding camera and lens parameters, and this will then be used for any flight planning with that profile. And you'll be able to plan perfect missions for custom cameras or cameras with custom lenses and so on and so forth. So it's another important feature that many of our customers have asked for. And last but not least, I would like to say that droneharmony is working on and is already actually implemented a REST API and API application, an interface for applications, web applications in particular, to interface with droneharmony and embed some of droneharmony's capabilities into their products. So if there is anybody out there here that's interested in adding droneharmony's flight planning and flight execution capabilities to their platform, for example, if it's a platform that's dealing with analysis of images or some sort of artificial intelligence-based analysis of data, and data acquisition is a key step within the entire process, then please reach out to us. We'll be more interested to speak to you, to present to you our API, and to show you what are the things that are available through the API. There are certain things that are listed here that I can already mention that are definitely available, them being embedding of the droneharmony web interface into a web interface of another platform, establishing of a single sign-on for customers of both platforms, and various features related to posting sites, droneharmony sites, that is from the platform through the API directly into droneharmony based on the data that's available in your platform and so on. Reading information back, of course, that can be sites or, for example, flight logs and so on and so forth, and even planning missions directly based on kind of set of parameters and reading back the mission. So many more features are coming, and we at droneharmony are very interested in establishing good partnerships with the ecosystem through this API. And we encourage you to reach out to us if you believe that your platform can benefit from this.